Hello, welcome. I am so glad you're here. Today I am going to be doing a tutorial on how to create this lovely square called the Golden Braid Square. This is one of the squares that is part of the Moogly CAL 2023, which I'm super honored and very privileged that Tamara invited me to be able to design a square for you today. So I'm very excited to be able to show you how to make this. So as you can see, it's got a bit of a unique construction. All of these are running diagonally because what you'll actually do is start here in the corner and you'll actually increase going diagonally and incorporating this beautiful braided cable here all the way until you get to the end where you start to decrease and create this nice lovely square. So in order to be able to do that, you will need a few supplies. So one thing is you are going to need one of these Karen 1 pound yarn skeins. You'll need a contrasting color, which I have here in Sunflower. And then my main color that I used is the Royalty, but you can obviously use whatever colors you're wanting to use. You'll just need one skein of each one. And definitely it gave me way more than I actually needed to be able to make one of these squares. So if you wanted to make multiple squares or, use the yarn later for another project, feel free to do so. The hook that you'll need is a size J 6mm hook like you're using with all the other squares for the Moogly CAL. I'm using my Furls teak wood Streamline in the size J, of course. So there's that. And then you'll also need a pair of scissors. So then that way you can be doing some cutting when it comes to the end and fastening off. You'll want a tape measure of some kind because you want to, of course, make sure it's a 12-inch by 12-inch square after you launder and block it. I also have a couple of optional stitch markers because we are going to be working increases along the side here. Sometimes it can be a little bit easier to see which stitch is your last one if you can place a stitch marker in the first stitch of each row. I also have here a needle case. This just is how I use to store my yarn needles here. So you'll need one of those to weave in ends at the end. And then I don't have it here on film, but you'll also want to have blocking mats and blocking pins if you want to get a nice crisp, clean 12-inch by 12-inch edge here. If you don't have blocking mats or blocking pins, feel free to just kind of soak your piece like what I will show later in the video, and then lay it out flat to dry and just kind of tug it into the places to make it as flat of a square as you possibly can. Now, with all these supplies in hand, you are ready to get started on your square. To begin our square, we're going to create a magic ring. So the way we create the magic ring, at least one of the ways I like to do it, is by taking the tail end of your yarn and you're going to wrap it around these two fingers 3 times. And then you can kind of grab the tail with these fingers here. So you should have, should have 3 strands of yarn coming across your fingers like this. Then what you'll do is you'll take your hook and go underneath these strands of yarn, just like so. And then you're going to grab that third one and just pull it through those first 2. And then once you do, you're able to pull your fingers out of the loop and you've got yourself your magic ring. And then what you'll do is you'll chain 1 to secure it. And then we're ready to begin our first row of double crochets. So to begin a row of double crochets, typically what you would do is like a chain 2 and then you would work a double crochet in there, or you could do a chain 3 and that would count as your double crochet. But to keep the edges of our square nice and clean, I'm actually going to do what's called a stacked single crochet. So a stacked single crochet is just like it sounds. We're going to work a single crochet, and then we're going to put another single crochet directly on top of it, so that way it kind of mimics the look of a double crochet and creates a nice clean edge. So to do a stacked single crochet, we're going to insert our hook into our ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, just like we do for a regular single crochet. But then we'll look at this vertical bar that's right here, and that's going to be where we insert our hook next. So we're going to insert it into that vertical bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. And then we've got 2 loops on our hook, and then we will yarn over and pull through 2. And that creates our second single crochet stacked on top of our first one. So that is a stacked single crochet. So that's going to be how we begin every row of this square. So the very first row is just three double crochets. So we've already done one with that one. And so now I'm going to work a second double crochet. And then I will work a third double crochet into that ring. And now that my main color has made these three double crochets, I'm able to now take my ring and close it up. So you can see it's kind of pulling one of those strands more than the other. So usually what I'll do is I'll take that strand and kind of pull until the second strand is also coming through to kind of tighten it nice and tight. Then we can pull the tail and tighten that as well. If you find that the magic ring just is not working well for you, you can always just do a chain up of 2, work your single crochet into the first chain, or your stacked single crochet into the first chain, and then work the other 2 into that same chain, and it'll create a similar effect. You just wouldn't be able to tighten it. That's what I like about the magic ring, is you can tighten it and there's absolutely no gap or hole in it. Yeah, so whichever method you would like to use, you can do that. But now that we have this 3 corner, what we're going to do next is we're going to turn our work, and we're going to do another stacked single crochet into this first one. So we're going to do a stacked single crochet by doing, insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, go through that vertical bar, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, pull through 2. But then because we want to increase it, so then that way it stays in a square formation, we're going to do a second double crochet into the same stitch we just worked into. So that very same stitch, we'll yarn over, insert, pull up our loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we would normally yarn over and pull through 2, except that now we need to start introducing our second color, our contrasting color. So in this case, it is my yellow here. And one trick in crochet when it comes to color work is that if you want to have nice clean color transitions, you always pull your new color through the very last loop. So rather than finishing this off with my main color here, I'm actually going to drop it towards me, because this is going, or sorry, drop it away from me. This is the right side of the work. Take my yarn, drape it over my hook like so, and then just pull that loop through those last 2. And then I'll just tighten it. It's going to be a little fiddly. It's going to be a little loose at first, and you just kind of have to mess around, play with it. Okay, there we go. And then what we'll do is we're going to work 2 double crochets with the new color into the next stitch. So it's going to be this one right here. So we're going to yarn over, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and then we will tighten that a bit, tighten that a bit. Okay, there we go. And then working into the same stitch, we'll do another double crochet with our contrasting color. But just like before, we now need to transition back to blue for this last part, because there's always going to be blue on either side of our yellow here, as the yellow kind of goes up diagonally. Now, that means I'm going to need to pull the next one. Now, in order to keep it from having just strands of blue coming here to the back, so like what some people might do is they might just take this blue that we were using before, come across and just start working with it. But I don't really want any of that blue to come across in the back. So what I'm going to actually do is take my yarn, and I've been working out of the center pull, but I'm going to go ahead and use the outer yarn from the same ball or the same skein, and I'm going to use that as my second set of blue. So as you can see here, we got a lot of strands of yarn going on, and it's going to look like a bit of a mess, but it's okay. It'll all work out once you're done. So go ahead and grab the blue, or your main color, pull through those very last 2 of our yellow. There we go. Okay. And then we'll have one more stitch to work 2 double crochets into with our blue. So keeping everything to the back, we're going to find that next stitch. So with the stacked single crochet, it's basically going to be the top single crochet here. We can kind of turn it here. We can see the V's of our single crochet here. So there's that top loop and the bottom loop here. So the top and front, or back and front. So what we're going to do is work our double crochet into those loops. So we'll go underneath both of those loops there. Ugh, I made mine a little tight. So tip, don't make it too tight. There we go. All right, so we've got 2 loops over our hook. So I know that I've gone into the correct stitch. So I'm going to pull through, complete my first double crochet. Oh, that's getting a little big. So I just have to take my yarn and tug it until it tightens, whichever. Oh, there it is. There's the strand. Okay. Whew. Okay. Okay, we're good. So now that I've done that, I'm going to work my second double crochet into that last stitch again. And there we go. We now have our second row completed. It does not really look like much of anything right now. So that's okay. It's not supposed to at this point. It's going to grow and it's going to start looking more like what I showed at the beginning of the video. So yeah. The next thing we're going to do is work on row 2. So row 2 is going to be one of our easier ones to do because there's no real increasing, but we are going to introduce a new stitch to it. So I'll show you that once we actually get to the yellow. Okay, so I'm going to pull my blue yarn here from the tail. What I kind of do is I just like, when I'm pulling from the tail, because it's from the outside, I just kind of like turn it slowly and pull the tail as it goes. And then the one that's from the center pull just kind of twists around with it and it doesn't really get tangled. So that's kind of a quick little tip for that. Anyway, so now that I've turned, I'm going to find my very first stitch here, and we're just going to work a stacked single crochet to begin our double crochet row. So stacked single crochet. And then you just match color to color. So we're going to do blue for my main color for every time I see a blue stitch. So we're going to go in to this next one and just work a regular double crochet. And we just do that all the way until we get to the yellow, which I'm already at. So now that I have that, one thing we want to make sure we do is we do not want this yarn to go to the front because otherwise that's going to show up on all of our pretty work on the front. So we're going to keep the yarn to the back this time. So keep it towards us. And then we're going to grab our contrasting color yarn right here. We're going to pull it through that last 2 loops to transition to our new color. Now, because we are wanting to create a cable, we don't want to just work directly into the stitch. We actually want to start working post stitches. So to work a post stitch, you would work around the post instead of into the top of the stitch. And then you can either work a front post or a back post stitch. Front post stitches will appear as they sound. They'll appear on the front, and back post stitches appear to the back. So because we want this side to be our front, we're actually going to need to work back post double crochets so then that way they appear on the front side. So we're going to yarn over, and then we're going to go behind our work and come through the back like this. So what I do is I go around to the side of this stitch, and then your hook is going to go around that stitch through the front, and it's going to appear like this on the other side. So it's gone around the post of this stitch from the back. If you find that that's kind of difficult to do just looking at it as you work, what you can also do is go ahead and kind of locate your stitch and kind of pinch it off and then turn the work so you can see exactly where it needs to go and kind of stretch those gaps on either side. And then you can watch as you actually stick your hook through those gaps on that side, and then you can turn it back, and now you've done it the way you're supposed to. Okay, so then we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and there we go. And then we're going to yarn over and complete our double crochet, go through those first 2, go through those next 2. And our first back post double crochet is completed. Then we're going to go to the next one, and we're going to work another back post double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, find the 2 side gaps here, go behind, come through the front, and then go around it and go to the back like that, and then pull up a loop and then complete our double crochet. And there we go. Except that I made a mistake here. We're about to transition to our main color. So actually on that last pull through, I need to bring back in the main color. So let me put that back through those two loops there. There we go. So instead of pulling through with our yellow, I'm going to pull it to the back here. And then grab the blue and yarn over and pull it through like so. Okay. Now that we've done that, we just have 2 more stitches left with our main color. So we're going to yarn over, go into that next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then into the last one, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. And we now have another row done. So if I now turn my work, what I try to do is I try to keep it from tangling by turning it the opposite way that I was. So earlier, I turned it counterclockwise. Now I'm going to turn it clockwise. So that way my yarn basically just keeps zigzagging back and forth rather than twisting around. So it keeps it from getting as tangled as much as it usually can get. So, I mean, you're going to wind up with a little bit of yarn tangle, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. We mess with that as crocheters all the time. Okay, so here we go. So now that we see the front of our work here, we can see our corners starting to form. We've got these nice, beautiful yellow post stitches right here. And so then the next step is we're going to grow it again. So always on the right side, we're going to be increasing until we get to the size of the square that we want. So to increase on this row, what we're going to do is create a stacked single crochet in the very first one again. And then do a second double crochet into that same stitch. Then we will do the same thing into the next one. We're going to do 2 double crochets. But now we're about to transition to our contrasting color. So we want to make sure we don't complete that double crochet. We leave those last 2 loops, drop our yarn, grab the contrasting color from the back, pull it through as our last pull through. Not too tight because we don't want it to be cinched up. So we're going to have a little bit of this length, but all of that is appearing on the back. So it's not like it's really that big of a deal here. Okay, so here we go. So now what we need to do is we're going to increase these post stitches. So what we'll be doing is 2 front post double crochets around each of these. So to do a front post double crochet, we're going to yarn over and we are going to find the post of our next stitch, which is this one. And just like with the back post, we're going to go on either side of these gaps here. But instead of coming from behind, we're going to go through the front. So we're going to go through the front, around the post, and from the back, just like so. Then we yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we've got 3 loops just like normal. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's our very first one. But now we need to work a second one around the same post. So because, so now we need to work a second one around this post. So what we're going to do is we're going to stretch it out, find those gaps again, and then we're going to yarn over. And then going in front of this one that we just made, we're just going to go around that same post again. So we'll just go from the front to the back to the front again, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. If we kind of set it like that, you can see now that it's created kind of this little Y shape. We've got the little front post or the back post stitch from the previous row, and then we've got the 2 front post stitches we just worked, and it creates that nice little Y look. So it's increased our post stitch from 1 stitch to 2 stitches. And then we just do that same thing around the very next one. So we're going to yarn over, find our post, go behind it like so, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we just do a second one around it again. So we find our post again, yarn over, go around the post, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now we've got 4 front post double crochets. And darn it, I made that mistake again. We're about to actually transition to our main color again. So I actually needed to have that last pull through be the new color. So setting our yarn to the back, making sure we're picking up the correct blue. So this is the blue that's from this side. I don't want that one. I want this one that's from this side that I'm about to work. So there we go. So we pull through our blue here. Okay. And then we're just going to work 2 double crochets into each of the next 2 stitches. So there's 1, 2, and then the last one, 1 and 2. And there we go. That is the next row completed. And there we go. And we can kind of like, flatten it out a bit and see, okay, it's starting to look like a nice little corner of a square. We kind of got this nice little like, I don't know, like manta ray or like kind of butterfly-ish look right now with the little yellow going on. Oh, it's just so cute. Okay. All right. Our next row is going to be just like the one we did on the wrong side before. But this time, instead of working only 2 back post double crochets, we're going to work 4 back post double crochets around these 4 post stitches that we did here. So I'll go ahead and show you that. So we're going to turn this way here and pull my blue yarn a bit here. Okay, there we go. Okay. So I'll just match color to color. So I'll do my main color, do a stacked single crochet in the first. And then double crochet in each of the other stitches until I get to my yellow part. And then as I'm about to transition to yellow, make sure I don't complete the stitch. I just drop it here towards me to keep it to the back of the work. Pick up the yellow, pull it through. And now I need to work my back post double crochets around the next 4. So just like before, we're going to find our stitches and just kind of stretch them out a bit. Now because they were worked around a post together, there might be a little less of a gap in between them, but it's still workable. So what you do is you just kind of yarn over, go through the back here to the side of the stitch, and then you just kind of like work your way in between. So we find that gap right there, and we're just going to work in between it just like we did before when we did the back post stitches. And we're going to yarn over, pull up our loop, and we'll have 3 here towards the back, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And there we go. That is our first back post double crochet. And then we'll do that 3 more times around the next 3. So yarn over, come to the back, go through the front, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then do it again. Yarn over, find our next post stitch here, go to the back, through the front, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we have 1 more to go. And then one thing that I did is you can see that we've got this kind of long vertical bar of yellow. That was from whenever I pulled it through here at the top. One way I can also deal with that is that when I do my last back post double crochet, I actually go around that as well. So I don't just go around the stitch, I'll also go around that yellow. That's just kind of a tip to help maybe polish it up a bit. You don't have to do that. As long as you're just getting the back post double crochets in the right spots, that's what really matters. I just, wanted to point that out in case you're like, oh, I hate the way that looks. But I was like, oh, there's a solution. Just grab it when you do your post stitch. So now that I have my post stitch started, I'm going to yarn over and pull through 2, but then I'm about to transition to my main color. So I'm going to drop this color, pick up the new color, pull it through those last 2. And there we go. Oop, it's starting to twist a little on me. Here we go. Pull some blue yarn. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Now notice here that we've also got kind of a long vertical thing with this thread as well. Sorry, strand of yarn as well. And we would normally work right into this stitch right here. But what I like to do, just like I did with something like this here, is when I do my yarn over, I'll actually go behind that vertical bar and then into the stitch itself. And then when I pull up my loop, it tucks that bar inside of the stitch like this. So it kind of makes it match along with the stitch. So that way it kind of hides it a little bit better. So that's another tip for if you want to get rid of some of these main color vertical bars. So for the yellow ones or the contrasting color, you can do your post stitches around them. For these, you just kind of go around it before you actually work your stitch, and it will hide it or tuck it right into the stitch itself. So now all I do is just work that, and I do double crochets across to the end. And some people might wonder, okay, have I gotten to my last stitch? Where do I stop? Some people will put a stitch marker right into this first stitch to help you know that. I am pretty good about seeing where my stitches need to end, so I don't use the stitch markers for that part. But if you need to use a stitch marker to help you see where your very first stitch is and where your very last stitch is, to know when you need to stop, that can be a very helpful tip for people who might struggle being able to find their stitches at the beginning and end. Okay. So we're done with that row. So I'm going to turn it counterclockwise now, or sorry, clockwise, whichever way, the one that's opposite of the one we've been doing. And then I'm going to start by doing my increase. So this time, how my increases need to work is that these 4 actually need to grow into 6. So that means that we're going to actually increase on the first stitch and the last stitch. Now that's going to count as one of the increases on either side. So normally what we would do is we would actually do 2 double crochets across the next 3 stitches. But to keep the stitch count from getting too big and keeping it in the square shape, we're actually only going to do that into the first 2. So let me show you that. So we're going to do a stacked single crochet into the first stitch. And then we'll do another double crochet into that first stitch. Then we'll do 2 double crochets into the next one. And then normally what I would actually have us do is do one more set of these, because we find that if we add 3 to each side, it keeps it in that square shape. But because we need to increase here, we're actually not going to increase on any of these 2 stitches. So we're just going to work a regular double crochet into those 2. So I've done 2 here, 2 here. So I'm going to do 1 in the next one. And 1 in the next one. We're about to transition to our next color, so I'm going to keep those last 2 blues, drop it, and grab my yellow and pull it through those 2 loops. Okay. And now we're going to create 2 front post double crochets around this post stitch. So a reminder how to do that, you just go around your stitch here, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then we're going to do that again around the same post. So we'll go ahead and find it, go around the front of it, pull through 2, pull through 2. And so now we've gotten our 3 extra stitches on this side of our square. The 1 extra here, 1 extra here, 1 extra here. So the next 2, we actually don't need to increase. We just can work front post double crochets like normal. So we're just going to yarn over, go around those, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then do the same thing around the next one. And then now we're on the opposite side of our square, so we're going to need to do our increases. So here we're going to do 2 front post double crochets around this post. So we're going to yarn over, go around, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, yarn over, go around again, pull through 2. But then we're about to transition to the next color. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that, grab my blue from this side, pull up a loop. There we go. Okay. So now, just like on the other side, what we're actually going to do is work 2 double crochets into these last 2 stitches. So in these next 2 stitches, we're just going to work a double crochet like normal. So I'm going to go double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next one. And then these last 2, I will work 2 double crochets into each one. So there's 1. Hold on, sorry. Get my yarn here. There we go. So 1. And then 2 into that same one we just worked. And then we will do 2 more into that last one. And there we go. We've now completed our next row. So now we should have 6 post stitches of our contrasting color. So now we have all of the contrasting colors set up. So the contrasting color is not going to grow anymore. It's going to stay at 6 strands or 6 stitches the entire time. The only growth that's going to happen now is going to be in the main color on either side. So rest easy. You no longer have to do multiple post stitches on the same one. But I will warn you that this next one, there is going to be some more complication added a bit to it when we start working on the braid. The cable braid is going to be a 2-row repeat. So what we're going to do is work the first row of this repeat on camera here. So that's going to be worked on the wrong side. So what I'll do is just work my normal stacked single crochet at the beginning. And then we double crochet into each stitch across to the cable. All right, and then just like before, when we transition colors, we're going to yarn over and pull the new color through the very last loop of the previous stitch. And just set the old color aside. There we go, okay. All right, so now that we've done that, in order to do the braid, on the wrong side, what you're going to do is work back post treble crochets in the first 4, and then back post double crochets in the last 2. But to get the braid effect, we're going to have to cross those treble crochets. To cross them, what we're going to actually do is skip these next 2 post stitches. So the next treble crochets we will actually work in the 3rd and 4th stitch. So the 2 that are in the middle here. So what I'm going to do is to do a treble crochet, you yarn over twice, then we skip these 2, find the next 2, and we will work back post stitches around those. So we go behind, around, and through the front, just like we did when we did the back post double crochets. But this time, oh, well, if I can do it right there, there we go. So when we pull up our loop, we will actually have 4 loops on our hook. So this is going to give us a little bit of a longer stitch so that it can stretch across at a diagonal to create that braided effect. So then I just yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2, and that creates my first back post treble crochet. Then I do the next stitch a back post treble crochet again. So yarn over twice, find our next stitch, come in from the back to the side here, go around the front, through there, grab our yarn and pull through. We'll have our 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. We have now done our 2 back post treble crochets. So to create the crossing effect of our braid, we're actually going to now go back and work around the first 2 stitches that we skipped. So to do that, this, I will admit, is going to be the hardest part of this cable, but it is doable. If you need to, you can always turn it to look to see where you're going on the back and then turn it back to actually complete the stitch, whichever way works easiest for you. I'm going to go ahead and pull enough yarn so that way it doesn't stop my flow here. So we're going to do a treble crochet again. So we'll go ahead and yarn over twice. Then we find that first skipped post stitch right here. Find the gaps on either side. Then going behind everything, including the stitches we worked, we're going to push our hook through the back into that first gap. Then go around the stitch into the next gap right there. And then if we look on our front, we can see we've wrapped our hook around the post of that stitch. And then we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop. There we go. All right, so once we've pulled up a loop, we'll have those same 4 loops on our hook. So try not to do this too tightly. I've got mine a little bit tighter than I would like. If you ever need to, just pull it out and start over again. But once you get those 4 loops on your hook, you just complete your treble crochet like normal. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then I'm going to flatten it back out here. It looks kind of like a big mess right here, but don't worry. It's going to look like a mess on the back, but that's not the part that's going to look nice. So then what we have to do is try to find our next stitch. So if we need to, we can always look to the front here, which is a little bit neater. So we see these 2 were the ones that we worked first. This one's the one we just finished working because that connects to the stitch I'm connected to. And this one right here, tucked in back there, we're going to poke that through. That's the next one we want to work around because that's the one right next to this one we just worked. So that's going to be the next back post treble crochet that we want to work. So we're going to go ahead and yarn over twice, find that next stitch and kind of poke it through. We flip over here, we can now see where those gaps are. It makes it a lot easier to see our stitch. I'm going to come behind everything, go through the back through that gap, and then go over to the gap that's right here, poke through, and we'll now be around the post of that stitch. And then we will yarn over, pull up our loop. We now have our 4 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Whew, okay. Now that we've done that, we should now have 4 stitches, which we can see here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and they will now have that crossing effect. We kind of turn it over here to the front where these 2 stitches cross behind these 2 stitches. So that creates one of the crossings of our braid. Now we just have 2 more of these stitches to work posts around, but lucky for us, these are not going to be crossed in any sort of way. They're just regular back post double crochets. So we're going to yarn over, go behind the stitch, through the front, pull up our loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then just do the same thing around the next one. And since we're about to transition colors, we go ahead and leave those last 2, drop our contrasting color, pick up our main color, pull it through to complete. And we have now finished the cable, the first row of our cable. So once you do that, all you then have to do is work double crochets in your main color in every stitch all the way to the end. which should be easy enough at this point, since you've been doing it now a lot. And now we're done with our first repeat row. So that's going to be row 1 of the repeat. Now we're going to turn our work back to this side, and we can see how our cable is looking here. We've got our 2 front post or 2 back post double crochets that were here, and then our 4 back post treble crochets that cross right here. These are going to be the stitches we work for the second row of our repeat. So I'm going to go ahead and pull some more yarn. Remember, when we're on the right side, we always do an increase until we get to the size that we need for our square. So we're going to do our stacked single crochet. And then we will work another double crochet into that first stitch. So that's our first increase. And we always need to do 3 increases on each side. So there's 1. And now we're going to work 2 double crochets into the next one. And that's 2. And then we'll do 2 double crochets into the next one. And that is 3. Then all I have to do is just work double crochets until I get to my cable. All right, once I reach my cable, I go ahead and drop my main color, pick back up my contrasting color here. And now to do the next repeat of the cable, we're going to have to cross on this right side. So if you ever look at a braid like in hair or something like that, you always notice that it alternates where the braid crosses. So here it crosses on our left. So now we need it to cross on the right. So we're going to do very similarly to we did on the other side, but this time with front post treble crochets. So front post treble crochets, you yarn over twice. We're going to skip these first 2 stitches, go to these next 2, which will be the ones that are on the front, and we're going to work front post treble crochets around each of those. So go around through the front, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we find the next one that was on front here. So it's going to be the one next to this one. We're going to yarn over twice, go around the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and now yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now, when we did the first row of the cable repeat, we worked behind all the stitches, but that's because we were working back post stitches and we wanted all the work to go to the back. This time we want everything to come to the front. So when I go back to work in these skipped stitches, I don't want to go behind these, I want to go in front of them. So we're going to yarn over twice, go in front of all of these stitches, and then go around the post of this first stitch that we skipped. Then we'll yarn over, pull up a loop. We'll have 4 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we just have to do the same thing with the next one. So if it helps, I need to kind of pop that out here. We're going to yarn over twice. Find our stitch that we skipped here. And we're going to work a front post double or front post treble in front of all of these stitches. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now if I can kind of flatten that out a bit, we can see that we've now created our crossing on the right side of the braid. And so we should only have 2 more yellow stitches left here. And they're going to be tucked back here. They're kind of hidden behind this. This was the one that was crossed earlier, but if we can kind of pull them out, we can see that's where our next 2 front post double crochets are going to work. So this is pretty much exactly like how we did the first row of the cable, but this time instead of back posts, we're just doing front posts. So we do front post treble crochets, followed by 2 front post double crochets around these 2 stitches back here. So yarn over, I'm going to find that first one, go around it through the front here, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. And then do the same thing around the next one. And just like before, I can maybe like grab this yellow strand here, kind of grab that there. That way it kind of wraps around with it. And then because we're about to do a color change, we leave that on there, drop our old color, and pick up our new color. And that is the second row repeat. And so then you'll just basically repeat that for each cable when you're on the right side. Now, because we're also on the right side, we want to make sure we do our increase. So here we're going to work until we have 3 stitches remaining. So there's 1, 2, 3. So we're going to work in these 3 stitches here, just a normal double crochet each. All right. And then in these last 3, we're going to increase by working 2 double crochets into each one. Sorry, it's starting to get kind of tangled here. Let me smooth that out. There we go. Second one. So there's my first increase done. And then we're going to do 1, 2. My second increase done. And then in the final stitch, 1, 2. And there we go. We now have our square continuing to grow here. And we can see that we've got our cable starting to braid. So it started down here with just like, normal double crochets, but now it's transformed into this nice looking braid. To work the wrong side of our braided cable once it's pretty established, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that, because when you first established it, you were working around pretty obvious double crochets, like front post double crochets. But in this case, we've got these crossings to deal with. So I'm going to show you which ones to work around to make sure you're getting in the right spot. So the first thing we'll do is we need to skip the first 2 stitches, which are just these 2 that were the front post double crochets from the right side. And then we need to find the next stitches. So you're like, okay, well, which ones do I work in? Well, the ones that we work in are the ones that are these ones that are the next 2 V's along the top, which connect to the ones that are laying on the front here. So these are going to be the 2 that we work our next front post treble crochets around. So I'm going to yarn over twice, find those 2 stitches, pull them here, and we're going to insert our hook from the back around that first stitch that lays on top. And we'll pull up a loop. We've got our 4 loops on our hook like before. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then I just do the same thing around the next one that was crossing on top on the front. So we'll yarn over twice, find that next one, pinch it if we need to get that gap going, and then go around it and pull up our loop to get our 4 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now what we need to do is work our next front post treble crochets around the 2 that we skipped here. So on the front, they're going to be just these 2 that are over to the side. Yarn over twice. And just like when we did the establishment of this cable, we're going to go behind all of these stitches, find our first skipped stitch, and go to the side of it from the back, go around the post, and it should be wrapped around it like that. And then we'll yarn over, pull through, have our 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we have to do that one more time around the other skipped one. So we'll yarn over twice, Look here, it's a little tucked there, but it's this stitch right here that we skipped earlier. I'm going to go find it here. This same one right there. We're going to go behind everything, go through the back on the side here, go around it through that next gap. Should be wrapping underneath here. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 4 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we've got our our back post double crochets to work now. So if we look at our front here, they are going to be these 2 stitches that are tucked behind the 2 that were on top. So we're going to kind of scoot those out of the way. I can use my thumbs to kind of push these forward to see exactly where they are. So they should be these 2 post stitches right here. So I'm going to kind of pinch around the first one I need to work. When I flip it over, it makes it a little more obvious where it is. So it's going to be this stitch right here. So I'm going to yarn over twice, go behind the stitch, go through the gap on the side, go to the front through the gap on the other side, and it will have the stitch wrap around my hook. Then yarn over, pull up a loop. There we go. Oh, I didn't mean to, I'm sorry. Yarn over once. This is supposed to be a back post double crochet. So only yarn over once. Okay, we're going to go ahead and find it again and kind of pinch it, flip it here, find where I need to go. So I'm going to go to the back through this gap here and then around through this gap here, pull up a loop, 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Creates our next back post double crochet. And then the next one is going to be this last one right here. So that one's a little bit more obvious. And that strand that we're going to grab if we want to kind of clean up how it looks. Should be around it. Yep, there we go. Yarn over, pull up a loop. Should now have 3 on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2. And, but we're about to switch colors. So then yarn over the new color, pull through 2. And that's how you do the wrong side of the braid once you have it established. So you can find exactly where you need to go. So what you'll do is you'll just keep repeating those 2 rows we just did, the wrong side row and the right side row with the increases until your square reaches about 12 inches. Once it does, make sure you end on a wrong side row. So we want to end on a wrong side row with no increasing, because then we'll have to transition to where instead of increasing to grow the square, we're then going to have to decrease to start coming back to the corner, the opposite corner of the next square. So in the next clip, well, actually, I'll work the rest of that off camera because I don't think you want to just watch me work my entire square on here. But once I get that done and I'm to my 12 inches, I'll go ahead and come back. And in the next clip, I'll show you how to then proceed to decrease to create the opposite corner. All right, I've been working away at my square. I've got my cable all worked out here, and I've worked a number of rows here that got me. All right, I've been working off camera here and I've been building out my square, and I've got this nice long braided cable here and I've worked it out until it's about this big. So I ended on a wrong side row here. And so it's turned now for me to start working a right side row. So make sure you always end on a wrong side row once you check the next part, which is going to be the measurement. In the pattern, I'm going to list the exact rows I did, but if you have a slightly different gauge for me, you find that you crochet a little bit smaller or a little larger, your number of rows may be different. But the point is, just as long as you can get the right number of rows to get 12 inches, then you should be good. So I'm going to pause here and measure mine. And it comes to, without any sort of blocking, comes to about 11 and a half-ish inches. So if I were to do another set of right side, wrong side, that would put me a little past 12 inches. So I don't want to do that. I want to make sure I stay slightly smaller because I can always stretch and block this to match that 12 inches. So I should be good now to move to the next part. So the next half of your square you are actually going to be doing decreases on the right side. So instead of doing the increases like we were doing before, we're going to start decreasing. So the decrease pattern will basically be very similar. Instead of working 2 double crochets into the first 3 stitches and the last 3 stitches, what we're actually going to do is decrease by doing 2 double crochets together to make 1 stitch out of these 2. To do that at the very beginning, we're actually going to do a beginning double crochet, but not finish the second single crochet. Or sorry, my bad. We're going to do a stacked single crochet like we were doing before, but we're not going to complete the single crochet on top. We're going to leave those 2 loops undone. So the next thing we'll do is then yarn over, find our next stitch, and we will insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And what that does is it now takes these 2 stitches and creates 2 of these little, like 2 loop posts, but then we have 3 loops at the top. So then we will yarn over and pull through those 3 loops, and that will join those 2 stitches together into 1. So now we've gone from 2 double crochets to 1 double crochet. I'll show that in the next one as double crochet 2 together. So we will yarn over, insert our hook into our next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, just pull through the first 2. So we'll have 2 loops left on our hook. Then we will yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and that creates our 2 double crochet posts and then 3 loops on our hook. That tells us, okay, now we're ready to put them together. So we will yarn over and just pull through all 3 of those loops. And we now have 2 stitches combined into 1. So now if we look at our V's at the top here, we should only have 2 stitches, but we've worked across the first 4. So we'll do that one more time. Yarn over, go through the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through just the first 2. Then without completing that stitch, we will yarn over, go into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then with our 2 stitches here and our 3 loops on our hook, we're ready to put them together by pulling a loop through all 3. And now we've decreased from 6 stitches down to 3 stitches at the beginning. And you can already see that it's created this kind of rounded corner right here. So that's going to be the top corner of our square. And then from here, we just work the in pattern. So we're going to work double crochets across. We'll work our next row of our braided cable, and then we will work across here to the last 6 stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and work all of that and then show you what to do when we get to those last 6 stitches. All right, I have now reached the last 6 stitches of my row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now what we're going to do is, like we did on the other side, we are going to decrease by working double crochet 2 together across these next 6 stitches. So we're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, leave those 2 loops alone, yarn over, go into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Once we have those 2 stitches worked, we'll then work a loop through these last 3 to join them together at the top. And then I do that again across these next 2. Yarn over, pull through all 3, and then do it one more time in the last 2. And that is our first decrease row done. So now what I have to do is just turn my work, and then we'll be on the wrong side. So we're going to do just like we do with the wrong side down here. We're just going to work a main color double crochet into every main color, work the next row of our braid, and then a main row color, oh my God, main color double crochet in each stitch all the way to the end. So go ahead and kind of get started on that here. So go ahead and get my yarn situated. Okay. So turn my work. All right. So now what we've got is, if we look at the top of our stitches, we've got these 3 V's across these double crochet 2s together. So we want to make sure we're only working into those stitches. So I'll find my first stitch here, and I'll do my first stacked single crochet. And then the next one is going to be in that next V. So we'll do a next double crochet. And then the next V. And now we've got our 3 double crochets. And as you can see, they're kind of leaning more this way because now they're starting to match up with the top of our square. So then that way it'll make the nice flat top. Okay, so then we'll just work double crochets all the way across. And then we will work the next row of the braid, which is just the back post double crochet, treble crochet thing. And then we'll work across until we get to the end. So it might be a good idea to also go ahead and mark when that last stitch is, because especially since we did a stacked single crochet, there's this extra V that's on the side from the first single crochet that's created. So we don't want to accidentally work in that stitch. So I would recommend getting a stitch marker and marking the first stitch of each row at this point if you are worried about accidentally working into that stitch. So I'm going to work that part off camera. So what I'm going to do now at this point is work these rows off camera, because you should now have the tools you need to be able to do both rows. I've shown you how to do the decrease. That's going to be the same on every right side row. And how to do the back side is just the same as you were doing down here before. So you already knew how to do that. What I will do though is meet back with you when it's time to start doing the decreases, when we start involving this braid, because it's going to have to decrease back down like we increased here, where it goes from 6 down to 4 down to 2. So I will meet you back when it is time to start doing that on the next clip. So you're going to work away on your square just like I did here until you have 6 stitches on either side of your cable. So depending on how many rows you did, if you did the same number I did in the pattern, it'll tell you which row number that is. But if you adjusted it in any way, basically you just keep going until you have 6 stitches on either side. Once you have those 6 stitches, we're then going to have to mimic what we did on the opposite side. where we are actually going to need to do a decrease from 6 stitches in the cable down to these 4 stitches here, which means that we're not going to do decreases on the blue all the way across. So we're not going to do the 3 decreases there because one of our decreases has to happen in the cable, just like we did the increases earlier. If you're not quite sure what I'm talking about, you're like, I don't remember, just tell me what to do, then I can go ahead and do that as well. So what we're going to do is we would normally do our decreases across all 6 of these stitches, but we're actually not going to do a decrease on these last 2. So I'll go ahead and work my first decrease here by starting my stacked single crochet, but then leaving those 2 on my hook, yarn over, go into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So I've got my 2 stitches, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 to join them as 1 stitch. And then I just do that again into the next 2, pull up a loop, pull just through 2, yarn over, go into the next one, pull up a loop, just pull through 2 stitches, joined at the top as 1. And there we go. So now we've done 2 decreases. There is a 3rd decrease I will need to do, but we are going to save that for when we get over here. So the next thing I'll do is just work 2 double crochets across the next 2 stitches. Oh, wait, we're about to switch to yellow, so I'm going to leave that undone and then switch to my yellow here. And then once I do that, we're no longer going to be doing our cable crossings. Instead, what we're going to be doing is just regular straight front post double crochets. So what we're going to actually do is join these 2 stitches together into 1. So to do that, what we're going to do is yarn over, go around the post of our first front post double crochet here, or back post really, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then leaving those 2 on our hook, we're going to do that again. Yarn over, go around the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. That takes 2 post stitches, and we're going to join them at the top through these 3 loops, just pulling through once. And there we go. We've done our next decrease. So now on this side, we've decreased over here and right here. So now our stitch count should be down to the right amount. For these next 2, we're just going to work 2 regular front post double crochets because we don't need to decrease those. And now we're to the last 2 stitches. They're tucked back here, but we can pull them out here. Now we need to join these 2 into 1 stitch. So to do that, we'll just do like we did over here. Yarn over, go around, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Leaving those 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, go around to the next one. I can grab that extra strand of yellow there, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 and join those into 1 stitch. So now I've gone from 6 stitches down to 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. Oh, except that on that last one, I keep doing that. There we go. You actually don't pull through yellow because we're about to switch to blue again. Yay. Oh, the joys of color work. Okay, so then we're going to yarn over with the new color and pull it through. It still does the same thing. We still get a front post double crochet 2 together to decrease down to 1 stitch right there. Okay, now that I've done that, we're going to work in these next 2 just regular double crochet. So we'll do a double crochet into this one, double crochet into the next one. And then now I have 4 left where I'm going to need to work my double crochet 2 together to decrease down to 2 stitches here. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Do that again into the next one, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay. And then do my final decrease, yarn over, go through, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, go into the next one, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3. And now we've seen a decrease to where I'm starting to get to my corner here. So I'm going to work to the corner with you here. So what I'll do next is just regular wrong side row. Okay. Where you just work one stitch in each one. So we're going to do stacked single into our first stitch, no decreasing on this row. And then we'll do a stacked single into each of the next 3. So you should have 4 stitches here. So you should have 4 stitches on this side as well. Let's move to my next color. So I'll go ahead and drop that one, pick up my yellow, pull it through. And then we're going to do back post double crochets around these stitches. Now, because we did 2 of them together, it's going to be a little bit kind of like fiddly, but you can still go ahead and work around both of these posts at once. So what we're going to do is just yarn over, go underneath the posts of both of those stitches, just like that. So I've got both stitches over my hook. Then I yarn over and just pull a loop behind both of those. And there we go. And then I yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I've just finished that stitch. And then the next 2, I'll just do back post double crochets like normal. Since those were not pulled together or anything. And then I'm to the next one that was decreased. So I'm going to go ahead and work a back post double crochet around both of those. So we'll go underneath both of those posts there. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we're about to switch to blue. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that one, pick up the blue, pull through on that last one. And there we go. We have 4 back post double crochets. Okay. Now I'm going to just work double crochet into each one across. That should be 4 more double crochets. 1, 2, 3, and went under too many loops there. 4. There we go. I only want to go through 2 loops at a time. There we go. Okay. So now that I've done that, we're done with this side. So I'm going to switch back. Yep. And now we need to do another decrease. So what's great about this one is that now we're going to be mimicking here where we had the 4 stitches come down to 2 stitches. So essentially what we're just going to have to do is decrease every pair of stitches here. So this first 2 are going to decrease down to 1. These next 2 will decrease down to 1. These 2 will decrease down to 1. These 2 will decrease down to 1, and so on and so forth. So to do that, we're going to start with our stacked single crochet, pause once I get to 2 loops, yarn over, go into the next one, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 3, and then do that across the next 2. But instead of pulling through with the blue, we're going to switch to our yellow or whatever contrasting color you're using. There we go. And then we'll do like we did earlier where we just do 2 front post double crochets together. So we're going to yarn over around the post of this stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, go around the post of the next stitch, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And then we've got 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that has now reduced 2 stitches down to 1. And we'll do it to the next one as well. Work these 2 together. And then finish off with my blue through all 3 of those loops. Let me grab that again. There we go. Okay, got my blue. All right, and now that I've done that, it's time for me to do double crochet 2 together in each of the next 4. Okay, and there we have it. Now what we need to do is we are going to work the wrong side just like we normally do. We'll work a stitch into each one of these. So I'll go ahead and turn. Oop, yarn started to roll away from me. There we go. We'll just do our stacked single. Then our double crochet. And then just like before, we're going to do back post double crochets, but around both posts that were done together. So I'll just kind of pinch them together there and get my hook underneath both of those. There's one, then there's 2. Okay, there we go. Sometimes you just have to kind of finagle it, work through it as best you can, just kind of get your hook under where it can go. If you need to go one at a time, you can do that. You don't have to be able to smoothly go under both at once if you can't do that. There we go. Then switch to my blue. And then we're going to work double crochets into those last 2. Okay. Now, when we flip it back, we can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is going to be where we now are going to join to where we get only 3 stitches. So to get that 3 stitch thing, what we're actually going to do is decrease these down to all right, so now we can see on this side that we have exactly 6 stitches and we need it to get down to 3. So we're going to we're going to start with our stacked single, but don't complete it. Work the next double crochet. And then we're going to drop and get our yellow here. There we go. And then we're going to do a front post double crochet 2 together. And there we go. Pull through the next one. And then double crochet 2 together across the last 2. All right, and there we go. Now, because we have these 3 stitches, what we're actually going to do next is on the wrong side of this, we are going to finish off with a double crochet 3 together. So I know normally on the wrong side we didn't do any sort of decreasing or increasing, but on the very last one, just to keep the corner clean, we don't actually want to do another row and then follow it with another row. It's just that's going to make the corner kind of point out too much. So what we're going to do is actually do a stacked single into this first one, or start our stacked single anyway. Leave those 2 loops. Then into the next one with our blue still, we're going to, because we still had a little bit of blue here at the tip, we're going to insert into the next one, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. and then into the last one, yarn over, go into the last one, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. So you should now have 4 loops on your hook and 3 stitches all worked into. And then we'll finish by going yarn over and pull through all 4. And that closes up our corner so that when we flip it back over, we can see we've got those 3 stitches that are just like the 3 stitches that we started out with in our magic ring at the beginning. It leaves a very similar sized space between the 2 stitches here, the 2 stitches here. Even though it's joined as like 1 stitch right here, it mimics this look because these were both formed around the same stitch. So these were formed in 1 stitch. Anyway, no need to know all that. All you know is that you're done with the actual square here. All you have to do now is a simple single crochet border just to kind of polish it all off. So what you do for that is you just take your main color and chain 1. And then in the corner here, we're just going to work 2 single crochets, just somewhere kind of that makes sense. It's a little tight there, but there we go. And then what you'll do is you'll just turn it, and then along each side, thankfully both sides are very much the same, you're going to have your double crochets along the side. So all you have to do is just go into the sides here. God, that one is a little tight, but it should be just fine. You'll insert your hook into the side of that double crochet and just do a single crochet. And then you'll do it again into the next one, or into the same one, sorry, because each double crochet is going to get 2 single crochets. So we find our next one right here and just work another single crochet and a single crochet into the side again. And then we just keep doing that in the side of each row all the way until we get to the next corner. So when we get to the next corner, we'll just work 2 single crochets into that corner, turn it, work 2 single crochets in the sides of each one, turn it again, and then we'll just do that all the way until we get back to the very beginning. Once we get to the beginning, all we have to do is just slip stitch right into that single crochet, fasten off, and then weave in all of our ends. And then next, all we have to do is laundering and blocking. Okay, so I've set up my sink ready for blocking. So to do that, I'm going to take my piece, and I've got it here. And you can use any kind of detergent. I'm just using some wool wash because I think it works great with pretty much any fiber, whether it's wool, cotton, acrylic, doesn't really matter. Go ahead and plug that up and give myself some nice warm water here. Just kind of dump that in there. Add a little bit of the wool wash, just kind of like a splash there. Doesn't need a ton. There we go. Just kind of let that fill up a bit. Get your piece nice and soaked and wet. Just like that. A little warm. Let's go ahead and switch over. Okay, there we go. And just kind of get it nice and submerged, and just get all those fibers nice and soaking. There we go. And get that shut off there. Okay, so what you're going to do is just let this soak for about maybe 15 minutes. It doesn't really take too terribly long, but after that 15 minutes or so, you can drain it, and then we're going to squeeze the water out of it and then move it over to some blocking mats. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera, the waiting part at least, and get back with you once it has soaked and is ready to go onto the mats. All right, about 15 minutes later, we can go ahead and start draining our water here. And then just carefully go through and just kind of squeeze your piece just to kind of get that excess water out. Try not to twist it. Try not to rub it or anything like that, because that can fuzz up the fibers and cause, maybe a little bit of felting. and also just kind of warp it, and you don't really want that, and you don't want to damage any of your good, beautiful work. So there we go. So we got that. I'm just going to do one more quick little gentle squeeze here. There we go. And now we are ready to place it on our blocking mat. Okay, as you can see here, I've got my blocking mat set up. What I like about these is that each one of these squares is a square inch. So it's easy for me to match up that I want my 12-inch by 12-inch square. And then I have these knit blockers, which are just basically these kind of long, pokey comb things that I can use so I don't have to put individual pins in. So I'm going to go ahead and take one and just find a corner of my square here and find a corner to match it up with. So I'm going to match it up, let's say like just right here. Go ahead and stick my pins right there. There we go. And then I will find 12 inches across. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I know it needs to match up right about there. And then I need it to be 12 inches going down. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And see that it needs to be kind of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, okay, so it's a little on the long side, no big deal. Just gonna squish that into place there. Okay, and then push it there. And then we'll do the other corner here. So it should just match up nicely with that one. There we go. And then I can make sure that the edges stay nice and smooth by kind of lining them up as needed. And then placing my blocker pins there. And then find the next one and do the same thing. Make sure it's nice and even. Place my knit blocker there. And another one right there. And then that should create that nice square effect. You know what? I think I'll actually go ahead and put ones here as well, just in case. And there we go. Okay, just kind of smooth it out and get where I want it to be. Okay, now that I've done that, I just need to go ahead and let it air dry. So one thing I like to use is a box fan and just kind of set it onto high. Make sure there's plenty of air behind it and then just have it blow air across this, and it should dry within about a day at most. With something this small and with acrylic yarn, it shouldn't take too terribly long. But basically you just leave it on here, let it dry until it is finished, and then you are all done with your golden braid square.